any of us, right? 15 people are going to die in the next 10 minutes of this presentation. Nearly 7,000 people are being diagnosed every day, and more than 33 million have this disease across the world. Male circumcision has been thought of as a tool to effectively prevent HIV/AIDS transmission. The WHO, in fact, has hailed this as the most efficacious biomedical intervention. But the problem is, right now, the way that it occurs, at least in Africa, is mostly through traditional male circumcision, which, as you see on this slide, 1/3 of people who undergo this face severe complications. These include bleeding, infection, amputation, and in the worst cases, even death. So how do we address this problem? Is there something that can be low cost so that it's accessible to these resource-poor settings, as well as culture appropriate, so it's not requiring very significant behavior changes or introducing something that doesn't mesh well with the environment there? Well, actually, we do have a tool that is being developed right here in-house at the University of Michigan. This is the Defender, which is a tool to make circumcision safer. So as you can see, the Defender is the solution that that has been developed for this problem of male circumcision. But the problem is, how is that going to reach the market? Is there a way? How many of these design ideas actually make it from design stage in universities, in labs, to the people who need them, who need these products? And so as we know, there are many challenges that exist along this path from discovery to implementation, which is exactly where MAHTA comes in. We have this unaddressed need. There is a gap between these design ideas to the implementation of these products. Seeing that there is a need, we have a mission. Our mission is to bridge that gap so that these ideas can be prototyped, can be developed, and can be brought to the end users in the market in a sustainable fashion, of course. And so to do that, we're working on our first product, which is the Defender. So the mission overall is to have a portfolio of products, but we're going to start with one product, which is, as you saw, the traditional male circumcision tool. To understand the landscape, is this a viable idea? What is this business model like? We talked to many stakeholders in this chain. We talked to people and the opinion leaders, WHO, experts in the field, different researchers, industry and pioneers. We also talked to the designers themselves. These are the people who ultimately come up with these design ideas, including researchers, students, engineering departments. Also talked to technology transfer departments who usually handle the transfer of the design into the real world. We also talked to other companies, much like ourselves, such as PATH, GE, who also have the goal of taking the design and bringing it to market. And finally, we talked to local implementers, which include people in the local communities who will make these products accessible to the final end users. So what did we learn through all these different interviews? Well, we learned that one, yes, there is a need, there is a gap indeed, and we need something that can bridge the gap from design and implementation. There really aren't that many companies that do this. And so what does this mean for us? That we will continue and push forward this idea and also work on our first product. We also learned a lot about the details about how to do this, IP issues, regulatory issues, manufacturing. So that helped us and enabled us to develop a framework of strategies so that we can move forward with the Defender. Finally, and most importantly, the key challenge that has been pervasive through all of our discussions and also contributes to why there is a gap or why there's no company doing this is that it's very difficult to remain financially sustainable. The companies that do offer products that take global health technologies from design to market often do so with the whole suite of products. They don't have to make money on that one product for the global health world because they're making money on other products. So that is something we're taking into consideration as we think about how we will move forward is, can we come up with some unique business models and new ideas? Can we cross-subsidize? Can we offer different products or services in order to remain self-funding completely? So now Miraj will take us through a deep dive into our first product, the Defender.
Thank you. So the Defender is the only product that directly addresses traditional male circumcision problems. So we're more of a first mover in this realm. And so our value proposition really is to be able to manufacture at a low cost, locally within Africa, and to make sure that it effectively addresses the issues that come with male circumcision, and be able to do it on a large scale. So the impact is fairly inherent. The impact of the product really is to promote safe outcomes of traditional male circumcision as a means to reduce HIV/AIDS transmission. Our customers, our direct customers, are traditional circumcision cutters. These are tribal leaders in various ethnic groups in rural parts of Africa who actually perform the circumcision. And they're not doctors, they're not medical practitioners, and so the procedure is performed very haphazardly. And so they're the ones who we want to address, as well as the young candidates. These are the boys who are actually the ones having to get circumcised, and their families. And our initial target market will be Uganda. The reason why we decided that was, one, there's a lot of ethnic groups in Uganda who still perform traditional circumcision. And we've done a lot of research there, and we know that the market size there is large enough to at least initially perform a pilot there. So our key relationships are really divided between our resources and our customers. We really want to leverage the different resources that we have. The one primarily being University of Michigan Research and Design Community. There's a lot of resources for us and a lot of other teams to really learn and understand the design process and implementation stage. But we also want to make sure we leverage out to different innovators in health design, as well as experts in production and distribution. And with that knowledge base, what we hope to do is really to reach out to our different customers. So the direct customers are the circumcision cutters that we discussed before. But the way health technology works is that there's different types of customers. So we have to get in buy-in from the local community and the circumcision, the tribes. But then we also need buy-in from the local community and national leaders and the government. Because you just can't walk into a country and then tell them, this is how you want to do things. We know what's better for you. So the buy-in from there is really key. And then we also need a buy-in from public health organizations, because they're the ones who have the actual local expertise to help implement our plans. So moving forward, what are the key activities? So in the short term, we need to finalize the prototype of the Defender, and we want to conduct extensive market research and understanding where exactly is male circumcision, traditional male circumcision prevalent, primarily in Africa. So that we next then want to run clinical trials and obtain regulatory approval. The approval process really is getting what's called a C mark, which is the approval from the European Union for medical devices. The next step, and this is in our eyes the most important, is gaining buy-in from the local community. Because if we can't convince the users to want to use our product and change their behavior, then the product will not be successful. And then next, we want to utilize partnerships in manufacturing and distribution. We want to be able to manufacture it at a low cost, ideally in Africa, and then get it distributed, hopefully through partnerships through NGOs. And then lastly, we began a pilot program to test how successful we can be. And so in terms of cost structure, as Alice talked about earlier, it's very difficult to develop a sustainable business model with health technologies. The problem is that we have high upfront costs in terms of product development. And so what we hope to utilize is grant money to continue the research aspect of it. So last August, the team received $100,000 to continue the product development from the Gates Foundation. And we hope to apply for a second round of $1 million come September. But in the actual, so that would fund us through the clinical trials, and that would fund us through all of the approval process. But then once we actually get to the manufacturing, the idea is to manufacture at a very low price that is affordable to the local population, which should not be no more than $3. The cost is really cheap. I mean, it's a piece of plastic, essentially, that we can manufacture fairly low. In terms of the market size, because we want to address Uganda, there are about 500,000 men who are uncircumcised in Uganda per year who we hope to address. So as you can see, it's a really volume-based, we need high volumes in order to sustain ourselves. And we also discussed, another idea is to combine the Defender with other medical supplies as to make a kit that we can provide to the cutters, including gloves, bandages, and all that good stuff. So competitive landscape, as I mentioned earlier, the Defender is the only device that addresses specifically traditional male circumcision. So we don't really have any direct competitors, but what we do have are substitutes. One can go without using the device, but we know that it's not safe. One can undergo clinical circumcision, which is a lot safer, but unfortunately it's more expensive and it's not necessarily culturally appropriate for a lot of areas that we're looking into. One cannot get circumcised, which is convenient. However, it doesn't address the issue with HIV and STI, sexually transmitted infections. And then finally, what's called ABC, abstinence, be faithful, and condoms. I mean, this is where a lot of funding is going, but it's a low-risk strategy, and it's difficult to change people's behaviors. So within all those, we feel the Defender is probably one of the most effective ways to address all the issues. So the next steps, for the remainder of the school year, we're going to continue research. We really want to understand the legal implications of how do you get regulatory approval in developing countries as well as IP issues. We want to start establishing partnerships domestically and internationally and start planning our field work. This summer, I'll be going to Uganda, and hopefully Kelly will be joining me. And we're actually going to do a lot of the research in understanding the market and the process in how would you manufacture, how would you distribute, and how do you gain that buy-in, that key buy-in that was really important. So we'll be working on that over the summer, and hopefully all that information will help us for our next round of funding. And we want to finalize strategies with the legal implications, and then also start building long-term relationships. And that sort of brings us back to MAHTA and the whole bridge concept. So the way our mission really, or our strategy is really to understand what are the specific health issues out in the developing world, and then connecting different devices or different designs that we find within a university setting. And so we become that bridge. And we want to start with circumcision. Obviously, once we can address these issues, we want to take it to a bigger picture and address all sorts of health issues that we feel that universities can really bring innovative ideas, but we'll be there to bridge it and implement it. So with that, these are our team members, and we're open to questions.
All right, great.